Hi everyone, this is Jay Chen from Real Estate Tax Tips. I am a chartered professional accountant and my mission is to become the Google map for investors to find financial freedom. And today I have Sean Quake from Carson Law. He is a real estate lawyer as well as a real estate investor, and he is going to talk to us about trust agreement, which is a very complicated not tax concept, but a common law concept, right? Common law.
Contract agreement.
Contract agreement. See, this is the reason why we have him talking about it, not me. Before we dive deep into the discussion about trust agreement, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and share that with your friends. Let's get started. So, hi Sean.
Hi Jerry.
It's nice to have you here. I know you're a real estate investor and you have been involved in some out of the province deals yourself as well.
That's right.
And you have some real estate investment locally as well.
That's also right.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your investments, real
Sure.
estate investments?
So I got started with investing completely by accident. When I went to law school, I bought a house and had left a job, so I thought I should probably find a way to generate some form of income to replace the income I was earning at the job I left. And so I bought a 5-bedroom house and started renting out the rooms to other law students.
Wow.
Yeah, which really sort of opened my eyes to the idea that, hey, using real estate as a form of generating wealth, not a bad idea. And so while I was in school, I ended up using some money I had to purchase a second student rental. Now this time I learned my lesson. I bought way closer to the school. I bought a bigger house, and I still own that property today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so that was my first true investment property that I bought specifically for the purpose of sort of generating some cash flow and generating some wealth. And so from there, I really began to look at what I was doing in terms of how I was creating a future for myself and for my family. And as you mentioned, I also have some multifamily properties in New Brunswick, in St. John, New Brunswick. So I have a couple of buildings there. And at the same time, I also am somewhat of a wholesaler.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, so I have wholesaled a couple of properties. I'm working on a couple of other deals as we speak. And I'm also looking at development. So yeah, I'm speaking with a couple of people about building a project in Ontario.
Oh, that's great. Wow, you're busy.
I'm very busy.
And on top of that, you're also a real estate lawyer. Okay, before you become a lawyer, like I found out that you have some different background.
I do.
Different path to become a lawyer, because people usually just went to school and get their degree and then become really like write the exam and then get into the law school, but you have a different path.
I do. So before law school, actually, when I finished my university degree back in 2011, I wanted nothing to do with further school and especially law school. But things change. Now, in the interim, though, I wanted to be a spy for the Canadian government. And so, that's a very long process. It takes about a year to get hired. And so I thought to myself, well, as I'm preparing for that, what is the best thing I could do for myself to sort of get there? And so I became a private investigator. That was fun. My biggest file was someone who claimed to have broken their back, but, I watched them in a grocery store, literally carrying all of their groceries in their arms, walking around like this. And so clearly she was not all that injured. So
Okay, don't lie, then you're fine.
yeah, that's right. So, and then from there I went to work for the federal government, not as a spy. That process sort of ended about halfway through, so I went on to work with the Canada Border Services Agency in the Immigration Department. And from there, that's where I applied to law school and got in.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting experience. Now, enough about your background because it's super interesting, but we still need to get into trust agreement.
We do.
So what is trust agreement anyway? Because I have a lot of clients who essentially buy properties in a corporation. The way that they buy properties in a corporation is by means of a trust agreement. Now, as an accountant, I know that CRA recognize trust agreement. And what this document does is that it allows us to separate the beneficial owner from the legal title owner. Now, I already get too excited talking about the nitty-gritty of trust agreement. So I'll let you do all the talking because I really don't know much about trust agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
So a trust agreement is really a contractual link between two parties. And as you mentioned, Sherry, one party being the corporation that's the registered owner of the property. And when we talk about registered owner, we talk about in the land titles system where we capture who owns what properties, who owes money on which properties, etc. So when you purchase a property, you go on title. So that's what we're talking about, the corporation, then what we would call a nominee corporation that goes on title. And there are a number of reasons why one might want to purchase a property through a nominee corporation. Number one, privacy. Right, so a corporation is a separate entity from the individual who owns that corporation. And as a result, and because it is presumably a private corporation, there's not much information available to the public about that corporation. You could run a corporate search and you could find out who the officers and directors are and the head office, but that's it. There's no public register of shareholders, and that's for good reason. That's for privacy. And so as an investor, if you want to protect your personal identity from the world at large, and particularly your tenants, then you may want to purchase with a nominee corporation. And of course, there are tax benefits as well, not only to start, but also in the future as we look at cash flow and as we look at, more importantly, the capital gain on that property. And so the other side, the other part of that contractual link is the individual, the person who becomes the beneficial owner of the property. And that's the person who reaps the benefits of the property, the cash flow, the appreciation, etc. And so this is a tax planning maneuver at times, and at other times trust agreements are used for different purposes. But in terms of it being a tax structure, this is really a way to simply allow the individual to tax plan appropriately so that they're not, so that they're paying their fair share, but only that.
Yeah. So majority of our clients would buy properties. It's the flip side of what you just described. Many of our investor clients would buy properties in their own name, claiming that they are buying it in trust from the corporation.
Okay.
It's the other way around. So what are the danger of using these trust agreement, buying them directly in their own name, and saying that using the trust agreement and reporting everything in the corporation? Now, I know CRA recognized that. CRA does allow the trust agreement, and with the trust agreement, there are steps that you need to follow to make sure that you implement this beneficial ownership, like essentially having your name on title, but then the corporation reports all the income and expenses and assets and liabilities from day one. Now, CRA allows that, and CRA recognized that there could be needs for it because of financing reason or for whatever reason that you want it to be. Now, but from a legal perspective, I understand that there would be some risk and some danger that some gray area that we are stepping into as investor.
Yes.
Would you be able to touch that?
Sure. So the number one gray area when it comes to trust agreements is dealing with your lender. So lenders, when we're talking about your single family homes or your small multifamily, where we're dealing with an institution at a sort of residential level, the institutions, the lenders, don't really care for trust agreements. And that's because they simply don't know who to hold accountable if you ever miss a mortgage payment. And so there's a way around that. There's a three-way type contract that you can enter into with your lender, but not all lenders will entertain it. And if you are a big 5 or big 6 bank, you probably don't need to entertain that option because you've got quite a bit of bargaining power. And so when, as an investor, we want to enter into a trust agreement, we've got to be really careful about how we do that so that we don't commit something like mortgage fraud or put the professionals helping us out into a sticky situation where they have to report to someone in a way that's not entirely truthful. And so what we want to be doing is making sure from the start that we talk to our lender about our plan. What's our plan with the trust agreement? This is a tax planning strategy, and so it's not bad, it's not inherently wrong, it's completely legal. And so we want to be having these conversations with our lender early so that we can get this out of the way, so we can figure out what the solution is and get it done, so that we are not running into a problem the day before closing when you come to see me to sign your documents and we have to tell the lender, oh, actually this is being bought in trust for our corporation. So that's the number one gray area. Number two, we want to make sure we actually paper the deal properly. So you're going to want to speak to a professional, speak to someone like Cherry or to someone like myself or another lawyer who understands what a bare trust agreement is and how to properly execute it. Trust law is a complex area of law, and if it's not done right, it could be invalidated by a court, which would be sort of disastrous from a tax planning point of view. It would completely eradicate what you set out to do in the first place. And so we want to make sure we get that right. And so, professionals like Cherry and I, we work together. We exchange memos back and forth, we exchange correspondence, and that's how we make sure that you, the client, are set up and ready to go in the most advantageous and legally permissible way possible.
Absolutely. So, to me, the easiest way, to be honest, is to buy everything directly in the corporation. If you are set out to purchase properties inside a corporation, and if you made the conclusion that corporation is the way to go, then I would buy directly inside a corporation. That's the perfect way to do. Everything is in the corporation's name. We don't get into the gray area of possibly committing mortgage fraud. So that is what I would recommend personally. So now that we get the trust agreement out of the way, what if people have questions about this? How do they contact you?
Well, the best way to reach me is by email, sean@carsonlaw.ca. I'm on my email all the time, and I'm happy to set up a chat with just about anyone who wants to talk about bare trusts or joint ventures or how to legally invest in real estate.
Legally. We always try to do everything legally. Thank you so much, Sean. It's very nice to have you here, and we just want to be the Google Map, and you are part of our Google Map to financial freedom. Thank you so
Cherry.
much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, everyone.